think is going to run too, so it's going to be a real battle royale down in Florida. But guess who one of the candidates running to replace Byron Donalds in Congress is?
Oh, is it one Dan Proft?
No.
Sean Thompson? No.
Obviously not.
Okay, well, what?
The idea that Sean Thompson could get elected to anything?
Okay, all right. Is it a male or female?
It is a male.
Okay.
Is it bigger than a bread box? Yes.
Okay. Does he have two legs? No. Who is it? Give me another hint.
Jim Oberweis.
No. He moved to. He's back.
You can move to Southwest Florida, Mike Scott, but you just can't escape.
Oh.
Can't take the ice cream out of the man.
You can't escape sort of the dismal quality of Illinois politics. It's like a
herpetic sore that doesn't go away.
No, I'm thinking The Conjuring. It's like your house is inhabited by demon spirits, and you move, but the demon's already attached to you, and so wherever you go, you're haunted.
You're haunted, and
that's my life.
He's already filmed his first television spot.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably from a helicopter.
What?
Yes. Right.
Oh,
you could fill Vanderbilt Beach with all these illegal immigrants.
Right.
Oh, good grief.
Remember when he briefly beat Lauren Underwood because he went to Congress? Remember, because they had the freshman orientation. They were still counting votes, but because I saw him on a plane and he had his congressional hat on and he said, I went, to see, but then she ended up beating him. So, wow. Are there Oberweis deli or dairy stores there?
No. Mm-mm. All right,
Okay.
coming up at 8:38.
Wow, I got to process that one.
Maybe come down and walk precincts. Coming up at 8:38. Simon Hankinson from the Heritage Foundation joins us to talk more about our sanctuary city mayor and others from big cities around America. 8:38.
But now let's bounce right back into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Blue skies at 8:34, and European Union leaders are holding emergency talks on ways to increase quickly their military budgets. The French defense minister, Sébastien Lecornu, is saying France is providing military intelligence to Ukraine after Washington announced it was freezing the sharing of some of that information. The Trump administration overnight saying positive talks are being held between Washington and Kyiv. The Trump administration says automakers will get a 1-month exemption from tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. Fire crews and hazardous materials experts trying to figure out what caused a fire at a magnesium facility in the south suburbs last night. Fire is out. The building appears to be a total loss. A homicide investigation continues after 2 were killed earlier this week in the south suburbs. The victims, a 23-year-old man and a 27-year-old woman, were found Sunday near 167th and Spalding in the Markham community. Chicago sports, Blackhawks lost to Ottawa 4-3. The Bears getting serious about rebuilding that offensive line, keeping Caleb Williams upright. They trade for another Pro Bowl guard, acquiring Joe Thuney from Kansas City in exchange for a 4th-round draft pick. College hoops, well, the madness kind of gets started tonight. Missouri Valley Conference tournament in St. Louis. Arch Madness, if you will. UIC takes on Valparaiso. The news, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you can save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Croscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Croscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at croscominc.com. That's croscominc.com. Croscom, building trust for over 20 years.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years. Wondering what future path your child or grandchild could take? While college is great for some, it's not the only way to build a successful, meaningful life. Skilled trades are in high demand and are full of gratifying opportunities. And getting there is less costly than college through apprenticeships and trade schools. So if your child likes working with their hands, consider the opportunities in construction, where thousands of positions are waiting to be filled. With trade schools and apprenticeship programs, you earn while you learn, providing hands-on experience, technical training, and a paycheck at the same time. Imagine no student loan debt, just a direct path to a rewarding career. Plus, skilled trades offer competitive salaries, often higher than some college grads, along with union benefits like health insurance and pensions. Steve Jobs said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." So if your child loves working with their hands, help them explore this incredible path. Construction could be their gateway to success. Learn more at the Contractors Association of Will and Grundy County's website, cawgc.org.
8:39. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And we'll start on the Kennedy, where right now it's an hour 13, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound 45 to the big airport. Accident, right lane blocked outbound on the Stevenson right at State Street. And delays on the Dan Ryan coming inbound, sitting at 35 minutes, 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Breezy in your morning forecast. Bit of sunshine, a high of 44, overcast 33 overnight. Tomorrow, snow and rain at times. We could see a coating to an inch and a high of 38. Mostly sunny and 29 right now. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Tom Homan was on Varney's program yesterday, correctly predicting what we would hear from sanctuary city mayors before the House Oversight Committee, and offering a specific reply to Barrington's own Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, as to her assertion that Boston is the safest big city in America, and the proximate cause of that safety is its commitment to not work with federal law enforcement. Follow that logic.
Sanctuary city mayors are going to say this. We're a sanctuary city, we're a welcoming community, because we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel comfortable coming to the police and report a crime as a victim witness without worry that we're working with ICE. That is a false narrative, because victims and witnesses of crime do not want the bad guy back in the community. They would much rather this person be taken in custody of ICE after the county's done with them. That's the message. Sanctuaries are sanctuary criminals. And as far as the mayor of Boston saying safest city, well, I know 9 children that would disagree with her. 9 parents, sets of parents whose children were sexually assaulted, raped by people who are not supposed to be here in the country legally. So we're going to provide real examples of people that they released from custody in these sanctuary cities that ICE took a lot of time to find these people and take them off the streets. And who knows how many children were attacked by these people between the time the county released them and ICE was able to find them, because sometimes it takes months. So we're going to present real life situations on real victims of real illegal immigration crime.
Well, it's not only that. It's sanctuary city and state jurisdictions also victimize people who don't live in sanctuary jurisdictions. I mean, that's the case of Laken Riley, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Laken Riley's killer, released in New York, made his way down to Georgia, where he killed Laken Riley. I mean, this was, of course, something that Trump focused on in his joint speech, in a speech to the joint session of Congress the other night. And that drew this response from one of the more thoughtful members of the House Democrat caucus. Of course, I'm talking about Maxine No Justice, No Peace Waters, who said this.
I really did not like the way he used the tragic incidents and the families that were there, who of course appreciated, what they think is their president caring about what happened, to the 12-year-old and to others who were victims. And we all feel sad and bad for them, but he misused them. Yeah, he misused them. And what he did was he focused on them instead of focusing on the real issues that we're dealing with now.
And those real issues that we're dealing with now will go unnamed, of course. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Simon Hankinson. He is Senior Research Fellow in the Board Security and Immigration Center at Heritage Foundation. Simon, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
How did you enjoy the testimony from our fair mayor, along with Michelle Wu and Mike Johnston and Eric Adams?
Well, I for some reason thought it would be like a 2-hour hearing, because those are the ones that I've been to recently. And I was disappointed to see that I lost 6.5 hours of my life.
Can't get it back.
I can't get it back.
I lasted about 3, and then you're like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Once I was committed, I had to sit all the way through it. And, there were some interesting moments, some fireworks, but you don't come out a whole lot smarter. Let's face it. Nobody changes their mind. Yeah. Some of the members just use it as an opportunity to make their campaign speech. They lob softballs at their friends along the lines of, how bad is this policy that I don't like? Or how fantastic is this policy that I support? Uh-huh. And then, you just waste another 5 minutes listening to someone say something you've already heard before. There's some interesting moments when they kept trying to get Adams to either plead the fifth or, admit that there was some kind of quid pro quo, some kind of deal between him and the Department of Justice about enforcing immigration law in exchange for them dropping charges. But, he didn't play ball. He'd obviously done his homework, and he managed to dodge that one. But yeah, it was not a hearing after which I think anybody came out a whole lot smarter or changed their mind.
I just wish that there would be more emphasis on developing the logic from the premises the sanctuary city politicians start from, for example. So, in every other instance, I expect I would hear from all of these mayors that, number one, they want criminal justice grant funding from the Department of Justice. They are happy to work with the U.S. attorney's offices in their cities, including to interdict organized crime, in the form of, say, organized street gang crime. And federal prosecutors work with county prosecutors, and law enforcement is always touting collaboration, state, federal, local. Post 9/11, I mean, this was the order of the day. It's been the order of the day for 20 years, except here. So for some reason, collaboration up and down the food chain with law enforcement on both sides of the criminal justice system is a good. Except when it comes to federal immigration law enforcement, somehow that's a bad, and not working with federal law enforcement in this narrow instance actually makes the city safer. Can you just provide more explanation, more color to that line of thinking? Because it seems to run afoul of common sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is the big question of our time is you've got people who are globalists who believe in a right to migrate. They don't believe there's any such thing as an illegal immigrant. They're just they call them newcomers. They're newcomers in our city, and we need to treat them like anybody else. And that's one question I would have loved for them to ask is, do you think that there's anything that an American citizen should get that an illegal immigrant should not?
Right.
And I would doubt that anybody except maybe Adams could say yes. Okay, driver's licenses, voting, housing, schooling, emergency medical care, health insurance. You go right down that list, and I bet you Mayor Wu and Mayor Johnston and Mayor Johnson would all say, yeah, they should. I don't see anything that an illegal immigrant doesn't deserve to get that an American citizen does. And that's a huge divide. I think a majority of Americans, but by no means an overwhelming majority, still believe that there is some distinction between an American citizen and the rest of the world.
Well, that's why. That Brandon Gill from Texas, we had on the program earlier. I thought he did the best job with Brandon Johnson because he just went down the list. Do you support driver's license? Do you support health care? Do you support allowing them to vote in local elections? And so, free or reduced college tuition, all that. And so it was just drilling down that larger question of, basically you see no difference between somebody here illegally and somebody who's a U.S. citizen.
Exactly. And actually that your example of Gill, and there were a few others who I think did a really good, what was his name? Brian Jack from Georgia, did a really good job of what I think a hearing ought to do, which is just ask questions calmly, politely, and get these people to commit to a position. And it's only then that you shine that light on them that you can realize how ridiculous their position is. I mean, essentially, these guys, these mayors had their bacon saved by Trump being elected because there was no plan B for the Democrats. And for any of these mayors, if you're getting 10,000 people a month, 20,000, 40,000 in Denver, 300,000 in New York City, what do you do if that number never stopped? You're going to spend, $6 billion, $10 billion, $20 billion. At some point, the Democrats would have turned on each other when the number got too high. But luckily, they were saved, so they can just pretend it was a one-off. And that they would be perfectly happy to take in as many people as showed up. And it's that kind of hypocrisy that I would like to have had exposed a bit more. And on law enforcement, they're trying to make this artificial distinction between, if there's criminals and people who have a warrant for violent offense, whatever, we'll cooperate. But in other cases, we're just going to do our thing and let ICE do its thing. But really, they're not helping ICE do its thing. They're not giving them the information that they need to take people off the streets before they get released back into the community.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, but also to your, just to accentuate your point, the idea, of course, people who present a public safety threat, they should be removed, deported. Some of these sanctuary city politicians, not all, will say that, but they don't act in furtherance of that. I mean, Brandon Johnson saying, we don't harbor people in Chicago. We don't harbor illegal immigrants in Chicago. No, I know. You release them. You're not harboring them. You just release them.
Right. Well, and he's using that word advisedly because, that's in the statute.
Right.
And I don't know how much the other mayors, I haven't had time to dig into this, but I did see yesterday, to my shock, that Mayor Wu billed $650,000 in legal fees to prepare for this testimony.
What?
It was $950 an hour for a fancy white shoe law firm in Boston. And I was just doing the math. That's like 3 months of nonstop preparation. Now, I've testified before Congress 3 times, and I admit, I'm not the mayor of Boston, but I don't spend, $950 on a lawyer to the tune of $750,000. So if you look at what the other mayors spent, they were prepping for questions like that so they can avoid actually breaking the law by harboring, aiding, abetting, doing one of those triggering words while still doing absolutely nothing to protect citizens from illegal aliens who are criminals.
Well, our mayor said he consulted, Jesus, and then he said that he texted our former mayor Lightfoot and Arnie Duncan. Do you know how much he paid?
No.
Real consulting fees?
Well, Michelle, to be fair to Michelle Wu, she had to learn how to say, you are Boston in several languages to all the people who want to come to this country illegally across the world, right? That's took some studying.
And Mayor Johnston, a bunch of times he was asked from Chicago, he was asked, well, how much of your budget or how much money did you spend on illegal aliens? He said about 1% of the budget. And somebody asked him, well, how much is that? I think it was Byron Donalds from Florida. And he said, well, I don't really know.
How do you don't know?
you must be a pretty terrible mayor if you can't figure out, A, you don't know your city's budget, which I looked it up, about $18 billion, and B, you can't do the math to figure out what 1% of $18 billion is.
Yeah, or C, he didn't want to say $750 million in an open hearing because that sounds like a big number.
And it is a big number.
What about the mayor of Denver, Johnston? I mean, he seemed pretty open. When they asked questions, he didn't hesitate. He didn't blame Governor Abbott all the time like our mayor did.
I think he's a smart guy. I mean, honestly, he was just the better performer. I don't think he differs from Wu and Johnson in terms of policy. Adams is the only one who's had a little bit of a come to Jesus and has realized the cost of illegal immigration in his city, and he believes in law enforcement as an ex-cop. But yeah, Johnson, he was very good at answering the questions, always with we do everything we can to help law enforcement when there's criminals. We've had, 1,200 ICE detainers that we've honored. So, he'd also done his preparation and I think did a pretty good job of avoiding the tougher questions.
Simon Hankinson, Senior Research Fellow in the Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation. Simon, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always great to be with you guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
People ask us, when's the best time to replace an old furnace?